Next on the news. The diocese now has 3 new priests after Bishop Robert Brennan celebrated his first ordination mass in Brooklyn. Authorities in Nigeria searching for the attackers behind a devastating mass shooting at a Catholic church that left dozens dead. With a swipe of the pen, Governor Kathy Hochul signs new measures to strengthen gun control into law. Plus,
you can have so many wonderful feelings for a person you have never seen before.
2 pen pals writing each other for more than 30 years finally get to meet in person. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now.
Saint Basil, pray for us. Saint Martin.
A historic ceremony as 3 men are ordained to the priesthood in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Historic because it's Bishop Robert Brennan's first ordination as the Shepherd of Brooklyn. The new priests are actually friends. They all studied at St. John the 23rd Seminary in Massachusetts, which trains seminarians over the age of 30. Now they'll go their separate ways to serve at parishes throughout the diocese. They entered the co-cathedral of St. Joseph as seminarians, knowing they would leave as priests. Alex Olszewski, Andrew Choi, and Vincent Vu ordained to the priesthood on Saturday by Bishop Robert Brennan.
You will exercise in Christ, the teacher, the sacred office of teaching.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us.
During the ceremony, the candidates lay face down on the altar in a sign of humility. Soon after, one by one, Bishop Brennan lays his hands on their heads in silence. The prayer of ordination follows. Then the candidates receive their new vestments on the altar. The hands of the newly ordained priests were then anointed with the sacred chrism, each ready to use their hands to minister to the people. Father Alex Olszewski says he looks forward to connecting with young people to keep them from straying from the church.
We've lost a couple of generations. We cannot lose another generation.
Father Andrew Choi, the first American-born Chinese priest in the diocese, says he hopes he's not the last.
There's a certain stigma within the Chinese immigrant community that Christianity is for Westerners, but they can see that, hey, you know what, there's a priest that looks like me.
Father Vincent Vu, who's from South Vietnam, says he wants to reach people of diverse cultures and languages.
I want to help the people. I want to make sure bring us more soul for Jesus.
And as they begin their new journeys as priests, Bishop Brennan had some words of wisdom.
See that you believe what you read, teach what you believe, and practice what you teach.
Father Vincent Vu has been assigned to Our Lady of Lourdes Parish in Queens Village. Father Andrew Choi is heading to St. Bartholomew's Parish in Elmhurst. And Father Alex Olszewski will serve in Brooklyn at St. Thomas Aquinas Parish in the Flatlands. Decrying an unholy act, Bishop Robert Brennan blessed St. Augustine Church on Saturday. It was part of a penitential rite of reparation. In a sign of purification, Bishop Brennan sprinkled the altar, the congregants, and the walls with holy water, restoring the Park Slope Church to divine service. The blessing marked 1 week after the discovery of the desecration and burglary of St. Augustine's Tabernacle. According to the NYPD, there are still no arrests or updates in the case. Pope Francis praying for the victims of a mass shooting at a Catholic church in Nigeria that left at least 50 people dead. Security forces have not yet identified who carried out Sunday's attack at St. Francis Church in the town of Owo, but terrorism is suspected. Nigerian officials say the gunman opened fire on worshipers both inside and outside the building in what they're calling a coordinated siege. The Catholic Diocese of Ondo released a statement after the shooting, reading in part, "We turn to God to console the families of those whose lives were lost in this distressing incident, and we pray for the departed souls to rest in peace. Amen." The bishop appeals that we remain calm, be law-abiding, and pray for peace and normalcy to return to our community, state, and country. It was a deadly weekend in the U.S. with at least 10 mass shootings nationwide. They ranged from a nightclub in Tennessee to a crowded street in Philadelphia. Mike Valerio has more on how this new round of shootings is putting more pressure on Washington lawmakers to end gun violence.
It's unacceptable. It's beyond unacceptable.
The trauma from mass shootings in America is spreading. In a single weekend, 10 mass shootings nationwide, 15 dead in these cities, and no part of America immune.
You know, I'm not trying to take away anybody's Second Amendment rights, but I think we can agree that there are common sense approaches here.
The mayor of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where shots tore through a nightclub, 14 people wounded, 2 dead by gunfire. At a Phoenix strip mall, a gunman killed 1 person, 8 others shot and wounded.
I heard over 100 gunshots going off. A group of people that just started running like every different direction.
Shooters opened fire at high school graduation parties in both South Carolina and Texas. People ran for cover at a funeral outside a Kentucky church, and in Philadelphia, multiple shooters fired into a crowd, leaving 3 dead. In Washington, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut says the time for common sense gun laws is now.
I'm more confident than ever that we're going to get there, but I'm also more anxious about failure this time around.
One of the proposals on the table, increasing the age to buy a semi-automatic rifle. Both the Buffalo and Uvalde shooters bought their AR-15 style weapons at 18.
There is interest in taking a look at that age range, 18 to 21, and doing what is necessary to make sure that we aren't giving a weapon to anybody that has, during their younger years, a mental health history, a juvenile record.
Mike Valerio, Currents News.
Praying over the recent mass shootings in the nation, Bishop Robert Brennan joined other local religious leaders in an interfaith prayer service on Sunday.
Eva Meirelles, Marcus D. Morrison,
in between the ringing of church bells on the altar, congregants of Immaculate Conception Church read aloud the names of each of the combined total of 31 victims who were killed at the Top supermarket in Buffalo and at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. Bishop Brennan led the service and said moments like this will tear down the walls of division.
God bless us all for what we're doing together. May God continue to sustain us and help us to overcome these evils, to bring about transformation, to proclaim the gospel of life.
Also speaking at the service was NYPD clergy liaison Detective Muhammad Amin, who urged those in attendance to seek out and advocate for safety in their communities. In response to the rise of gun violence, New York Governor Kathy Hochul signed a slew of bills Monday strengthening gun control laws in the state. They include banning anyone under the age of 21 from buying or owning a semi-automatic rifle. The measures also bolster red flag laws and limit the sale of body armor only to law enforcement. Speaking at a news conference in the Bronx, Governor Hochul says now is the time to take action.
This is a crisis, the scale of which requires a national response at the federal level and from each and every state. But here in New York, we don't wait. We lead. We've already have the strongest laws in the nation, but even that's not enough.
Last week, Governor Hochul also called on the governors of other states to take similar actions against gun violence. In light of the recent shootings, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops wrote a letter to Congress urging lawmakers to take action against the wave of violence through gun control. It reads in part, these tragedies can only bring us to one conclusion. We must unite in our humanity to stop the massacres of innocent lives. There is something deeply wrong with a culture where these acts of violence are increasingly common. The Vatican just announced that Pope Francis will travel to L'Aquila, Italy in August, and the news is raising questions over the future of the pontificate. Vatican officials say included in the trip is a mass outside a medieval basilica on the edge of town. Then Pope Benedict XVI traveled to L'Aquila in 2009 and visited the exact same basilica before he resigned in 2013. The Holy Father will make the trip just one day after a scheduled consistory to create 21 new cardinals and a day before his meeting on reforming of the Roman Curia. Some speculate that the pontiff may resign given his increased mobility problems that have forced him to use a wheelchair. The Pope also making a stern new appeal to end the war in Ukraine.
Rinnovo l'appello ai responsabili delle nazioni. Non portate l'umanità alla rovina, per favore.
The Holy Father made the appeal during the prayer of Regina Celli on Pentecost Sunday. Some 25,000 pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square. Pope Francis had a touching exchange with a young Ukrainian boy at the Vatican when he met with 160 school children of various faiths. The boy asked the Pope to visit Ukraine, quote, to save all the children who are suffering there. The Pope thanked the boy for being there and responded that he would like to go to Ukraine. It's just that he has to wait for the right moment to do it. The Holy Father has said previously that he would like to travel to the war-torn country. Meanwhile, the president of Ukraine visited his troops in some of the most bombarded frontline positions. Volodymyr Zelensky stopped at 2 different locations in the eastern part of the country. Zelensky says he's proud of everyone he met. The eastern region has been under heavy Russian attack for weeks with missile, rocket, and other aerial bombardment. There's a lot more news headed your way. The clerk couldn't believe her eyes. Surveillance video showing an armed boy robbing a gas station. Also, the Emmaus Center hosting an event that's bringing men together with faith and football. We'll speak with Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello about it. And how a diabetes drug may help with weight loss. Details on a new study next.
There are now some big changes to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
It was a shocking sight. A 12-year-old boy with a gun seen on surveillance video robbing a gas station. Here's one that will leave you scratching your head. A boy taken into custody after the crime at the gas station in Michigan. And the clerk says she was stunned to see the young suspect with the weapon. Armed robberies are not too common in small towns like Hartford, Michigan. But when the suspect is this young, even law enforcement veterans are surprised.
It flabbergasted me that a young person, broad daylight, no mask, would walk right into business with other customers, announce an armed robbery.
Hartford police say a 12-year-old boy took a gun out of a locked cabinet in his home, went to this Marathon gas station, and pointed the gun at a clerk, demanding money. The clerk was stunned.
Are you serious?
Police say the 12-year-old then pointed the gun at the ceiling and pulled the trigger.
It's very concerning. The school shootings that we're seeing every day, the violence we're seeing in churches. I think the father had good intentions, but I think he learned a valuable lesson that he needs to secure the firearm even better than he did, because the young man was able to pry the door open.
Police say the clerk then gave a few $1,000s to the boy, who put the money in a backpack and ran off. But law enforcement from several agencies responded within 90 seconds and caught the boy in a nearby parking lot.
He pretty much did not lie about anything. He will not give us his exact reason. He said it wasn't for the money, but he would not tell us. It was recorded on high definition, 3 different cameras at the business. I just don't know what was going on in this young guy's mind.
All the money and the loaded gun were recovered. Police say he was put in a cruiser and taken to a juvenile detention center. Elon Musk is threatening to walk away from a $44 billion deal to buy Twitter. The Tesla founder says he asked the social media company to give him data on fake accounts, but Twitter hasn't done that yet. And Musk says that's a breach of the merger deal. Twitter says bots and fake accounts constitute less than 5% of its users, but Musk thinks it's much more, potentially as high as 90%. A treatment used for diabetes may also help with weight loss. That's according to a new study published in the New England Journal of Medicine. Researchers say tirzepatide may be able to help overweight or obese adults lose weight. In the 72-week study, participants were able to lose 15 to 20% of their starting body weight. The medicine just recently got the stamp of approval from the FDA to treat type 2 diabetes. It's a day of football, fun, and faith. The annual Catholic Men's Conference is being held at the Emmaus Center in the Diocese of Brooklyn this weekend. To learn more about it, we're joined by the chairman of the Emmaus Center, Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you so much.
So I know you have a lot of amazing special guests coming this weekend, and it's called the Ultimate Playbook. So you have a former coach, a former quarterback. So why should people hear their stories?
Well, because first of all, they're prominent figures, and people know them. They're sports figures, but they're also men of faith. Right. And that's so important to hear their stories, you know, why faith is important to them, what happened in their lives that turned them to faith, right. And, you know, how faith plays a role in their lives, especially as fathers. Right. You know, that's important today.
And, you know, it's funny, the faith playing a role. I know you also have Jim Wahlberg, that's coming, brother of Mark Wahlberg, the actor. And we actually interviewed him on Currents once about how his faith helped him in his recovery. So what will your audience take from having him there?
Well, first of all, I mean, of course, his brother, the name is faith, but also his experience. It's a redemption story. Right. He went down the wrong path a little bit. He wound up in jail. And, you know, in jail, you do little jobs to get a little extras here and there, maybe a cigarette or something like that, right, bar of candy. So he volunteered to work in the church, in the chapel. Yeah. And, you know, the priests, you know, saw him, tried to help him a little bit. So he asked him to serve when Mother Teresa came to the prison. Oh, wow. And he had an encounter with her. Oh, and wow. It was, you know, an experience for him, a life-changing experience for him. And because of that experience, and he felt that he was loved and he was saved, he now goes around and he tells his story, how faith and Jesus came into his life and saved him.
Wow, it's great. And to have so many different people that other people, you know, you could relate to. Yes. So why is a men's conference necessary? What will people that go to it get out of it?
Well, because first of all, you know, when you go to church, you see all ladies in church.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
No, but men are men. You know, they're people of faith also. But we figured we do this around Father's Day because there's an issue today with, you know, families and children without fathers, and we wanted to have something for men of faith, and we thought it would be important to have this. Many dioceses have you know, a conference like this for men, and that they can come together, share their stories, share their experience, and share their faith.
You've talked about an epidemic of fatherlessness. So why is that happening? And how can conferences like this change that?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a breakdown of the family unit because of the society in which we live. That's one. I believe there's like 20 million children that are fatherless in this country. And if you go around and you see children that go astray, children that, you know, commit crimes and these acts of terrorism, you know, mass shootings, many of them, most of them, are from families without a father. And they say if a child doesn't have a father figure in their lives, they have a higher tendency to go astray and to commit a crime. So something like this is important, but we have to bring the attention and the focus to fathers. You know, you can be a sports figure, you can be famous, but you can also be a father and also have faith. Right. And I think if you bring that all together, this is a reflection on how they father their children and become good role models, not only for their own children, but for all of these fatherless children that may listen to them and hear their stories.
Right, they're people too. They're celebrities, they're people too. So I know the conference will air right here on Net TV. Yes. You can also go in person. I know it's $25. You can get your tickets at the Emmaus Center's website. It's emmausbrooklyn.org, in case anybody's wondering. So it's a men's conference, but can and should women go too?
It's open, yes it is. It is open, and we are also planning on having a women's conference and also a children's conference. And we do have some free tickets available. So if they go online, you may be lucky enough to get it.
You heard that? All right, everybody's got to go online and check it out. It sounds amazing. And, you know, a lot of women are football fans too.
Exactly.
So maybe they'll go and check it out. Monsignor Jamie Gigantiello from the Emmaus Center. Thanks for being here and telling us about it.
Thank you.
Again, the ultimate playbook is this Saturday, June 11th, at the Emmaus Center, which is located at 288 Berry Street in Brooklyn, New York. The tickets are $25 a person. Just head online to emmausbrooklyn.org for the complete details. This week, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will be attending the 9th Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles, an event that brings together government officials worldwide. Among the issues, economic prosperity. As John Lawrence reports, that's an issue that the White House is also placing high on its own to-do list.
President Joe Biden says the U.S. is ready for a new phase of stable, steady growth coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Although the Labor Department says the country added 390,000 jobs in May and the unemployment rate held steady at 3.6%, not everyone sees the economic glass as half full.
That hurricane is right out there down the road coming our way. We just don't know if it's a minor one or Superstorm Sandy.
With the 2022 midterm elections about 5 months away, White House officials say they are focused on helping Americans as they pay more for many items, including gas. According to GasBuddy.com, the national average for a gallon is nearly $4.86 as of Monday. That's up almost $1.81 from 1 year ago.
We have a strong economy now. People are working. Inflation's a problem. I will grant you that, and we will get it under control because we're going to stick with it until we do.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says the White House considers fighting inflation a top economic priority.
There are a number of things that the president has proposed that we do that Congress could do. Lowering the cost of insulin, lowering the cost of childcare, lowering the cost of housing, things that would make a difference.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The latest Gallup poll says 85% of Americans see the U.S. economy as in either fair or poor shape. Still to come on Currents News, he's an 83-year-old who doesn't back away from an adventure. Next, his record-breaking voyage across the Pacific. And it started with a school assignment more than 3 decades ago, but now these pen pals decided to make their friendship in person. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. An 83-year-old man has become the world's oldest person to sail solo across the Pacific Ocean nonstop. Japanese ocean adventurer Kenichi Hori set sail from San Francisco on March 27th, and on Saturday he arrived in the waters off Japan. He didn't make any port calls during the record-breaking voyage. After finishing his trip, he said, quote, "Don't let your dreams just stay as dreams. Have a goal and work towards achieving this, and a beautiful life awaits." Good advice. Finally, it was a meeting decades in the making. Two pen pals from Ohio and Brazil were finally able to see each other face to face. Catherine Ross is in Ohio with more on how the two first connected and why it took them 30 years to meet.
In a nearly empty airport after several delayed flights, Tanya Niemer is holding on to souvenirs from a long friendship.
This is the guide of her city, so she wanted me to look and see what her city is like, and she put little notes in them.
The guides and letters have been connecting Tanya with Georgette Vitorino over 5,000 miles.
And we've been writing each other since 5th grade, so it's been about, I'm going to age myself, 33 years.
The pen pals met each other when Tanya was at Copley Fairlawn.
Miss McGarvey from Copley, she's the one who said, you know, we need to broaden our horizons and let's connect with a school in Brazil, and I'm going to pair you up and connect you.
Saturday, the two are connected in person.
It was amazing to finally arrive.
And the connection is clear.
There were so many parallels in our lives. So
both women, who always shared a love of writing and birthdays just days apart, grew up to become attorneys, raised families, and never lose touch.
What I think is so special is that you can have so many wonderful feelings for a person you have never seen before.
A whirlwind trip for Georgette and her husband includes a scavenger hunt around Hudson Saturday.
I wonder
that's here.
The friends exploring Northeast Ohio and finding friendship can spark through letters, span continents, and last years.
You know, good people are everywhere, and she's really one of them.
How cool is that? That was Catherine Ross reporting. The now grown women agree their 5th grade assignment not only brought them a lifelong friendship, but also a lesson about humanity. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.